So you're listening to this because you've probably noticed that you start to lose yourself in relationship, right? You lose yourself, you lose your edge. This is a really common thing that occurs to men. We start to feel disconnected from ourselves. Our partners start to feel grumpy, miserable, nagging, like they don't want to have sex. Our relationship starts to be filled with, I don't know, conflict, stress, anxiety, all these things, right? And it feels like your relationship is falling apart. But actually, what's actually occurring, what's causing the relationship to fall apart is the fact that you are losing yourself, you're losing your own edge, you're losing who you are, right? And it's really important we get into this today, right? So I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms, right, of what's going on. I'm going to talk about what you're actually doing that's causing the problem and how you can start to rectify. I'll give you one thing to rectify it, right? So some of the symptoms that you are losing yourself in your relationship, you don't express what you think, you put your needs secondary, you start putting maybe the stability or calmness of the relationship before you expressing yourself and so forth, right? This is really common. You're going to start to see disconnection in your relationship. You're not feeling very connected. You bickering over small things. The sex starts to die down, stuff I mentioned in the intro. What else do I see a lot in relationships where people, defensiveness, conflict, a lack of emotional safety, right? These are often signs that we're losing ourselves in relationship, but it looks like there's something wrong with the relationship. So when we start to lose ourselves in relationship, we do is we double down on the relationship. We go, oh, there's something wrong with relationship. I need to work harder at relationship. And actually, that is often the wrong thing to do for a lot of people, right? Especially if you're anxiously attached. You can listen to this. Especially if it's you, anxiously attached people. One of the reasons, especially for you, is you need to stay connected to yourself. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that now. So reason number one is you start to prioritize perceived relationship stability over your authenticity. So what starts to happen is you start to edit yourself, not speak up about things, not say the things you want, not ask for the things you want, because you think if I can keep the relationship stable for a few days, a few weeks, then everything will return back to normal and be okay, right? So you start to edit, you start to remove the aspects of you from the relationship. You start to basically become inauthentic. You might hide things, you might lie about things, you might play things down, you might just not speak up very much, you might start to become quite quiet, right? That's the number one thing I see happening. Number two is you start to avoid anything that you think could cause conflict, right? So anything you voicing what you want for dinner, where you want to go in the evening, maybe you want to go and do something with some friends, you stop voicing these things because you think they could lead to conflict, right? So you start to dull down who you are. This is a huge problem, right? You start to remove anything you think might cause conflict because conflict is happening frequently and it maybe gets out of control or it's difficult for you to handle. You're not great with conflict. Maybe there's a lack of emotional safety in there. So the conflict doesn't, feel like it flows or brings you closer together. Yeah. Number three, and this is a really important one, especially if you're anxious attached people, is you stop doing the things that make you enjoy your life. Yeah. And you start to make your whole identity about the relationship. Yeah. These are two different things, but I've grouped them in together, right? So you stop doing the things you enjoy. So that might be you stop playing football, watching football. You stop, I don't know, man, going out with your friends. You stop, watching the shows that you like. You stop. It's usually outside the house stuff, right? Hanging out with your friends is a big one I see of a lot of anxiously attached men, is that they get in a relationship and they stop seeing their friends. They stop going to the sports that they love, or they stop doing the activities that they enjoyed that brought them joy and laughter, right? Joy, recharge, and so forth. Whatever it is for you is like, what do you stop doing? And why this is linked to the fourth point, which is around you make the relationship identity, is because you lose your identity and you reattach your identity to the success of the relationship, which creates a huge amount of anxiety in the relationship, right? Because what you're doing then is you're like, oh, my identity is no longer this stuff. My identity is the success of this relationship. So this has to work. It has to work. It has to work. Yeah. You get into that vibe. It doesn't feel like it, but your partner probably feels it because everything becomes about the relationship. And then we step into the next piece, number 5, right, which is codependence. Because everything becomes about the relationship, you have to work double time to make the relationship feel good. Yeah, you have to do everything you can for it to be okay because your identity is now the relationship. So if the relationship doesn't feel tip top and okay and good, your identity's at risk. Your ego feels it's in danger. So then you double down, right? You double down on the strategies from before. You prioritize stability over authenticity. You avoid conflict. You stop doing the things you were doing before, right? You start putting more attention on the relationship and your partner, which actually creates more anxiety, which actually makes more strain and stress on your partner as well, right? And then number 6, I've already mentioned, which is your anxiety starts to become the driving force of relationship, right? You're attempting to get rid of your anxiety via the vehicle of your relationship, right? And this becomes a problem because it's not about the relationship, right? It's about something else. So what do you need to do to rectify this? Ultimately, the thing we have to remember, right, when it comes to relationships is relationships need 2 things, right? They need intimacy, closeness, and they need autonomy/independence, right? Esther Perel, I think she calls independence and autonomy mystery. Yeah. Intimacy and mystery. So it's like, oh, we're together, we're hanging out, we're making love, we're talking. And then the mystery is you're out doing other things with other people, right? Independence. You're doing your own thing. Yeah. You have your own stuff to do. Really important aspect, right? To have when it comes to relationship. And a lot of people fall into this being too close together. When you've got kids, it's hard, right? You do so many things together, right? I really see that in my own relationship. It's like carving out time for ourselves. It becomes difficult to do. So it's really important you have those 2 things. So what do you need to do? The first thing you have to do is start to reclaim yourself. So often what happens in relationship, and I see this with a lot of men, is like, oh, my partner is making me X. My partner is, the way they are being is mean that I can't do the things I want. I can't, be myself. I can't, say the things I want to say. And actually, I see how often this is not true. And it is a decision that we've made in our heads that we believe we have to be for our partner to love us and want to be with us, right? And actually what you need to start doing, right, if you've lost all these aspects of yourself, is start to reclaim your own identity back, right? The hobbies, the interests, the friends, the family, whatever it is for you that brings you joy, brings you laughter, right? You can literally sit with a list and go, okay, what are the things that I enjoy that I don't do very much anymore? You used to play football, right? I keep saying football, but I love football. It might be you like to go climbing, or you like to go sauna, cold plunge, blah, blah, blah. You just look at the things you used to like doing and enjoying. You used to see your brother, you see your sister, you see your nephews, whatever it is, right? And don't put in there, don't filter by, oh, well, I don't think I really like doing that anymore, or I don't like going to that place anymore. Leave that out. Just be like, what are the things that you used to do? And then start to go, okay, where can I carve out some time to do these things? You might have kids now, so it might not be as easy to just go and spend 3 nights a week away, but it might be a case of going, okay, well, I want to wake up early one morning a week and go to the sauna or go do some climbing, right? Or I want to join a 5-a-side team and play on Sundays. It's really important you do things that nourish you, that are outside the relationship. And too often as men, we forget this, right? And, like I said, it's very much a thing I see with anxiously attached people. It's really important to create things in your life that bring you joy, bring you happiness as well, in and of themselves, right? Obviously, there's aspects around communication, emotional safety, emotional expression, like emotional capacity that are really important in this. If your relationship is, having some of the things I said, the nagging, the lack of sex, the lack of communication, the stress. But this is an episode for that. If you want to dive into that sort of work, I have a program called Relate, which I've just about started. Now when you're getting this podcast episode, it's just started. It's like a 7-month long program, which I'll be opening the doors periodically to. So if you're interested in that, there's a wait list down below. You can join that, and I'll get in contact with you about joining that, where we're going to really go through those aspects of how to relate, how to attune, how to move past your patterns, how to create deep presence and emotional capacity, as well as leadership, sexual leadership, relational leadership, all these aspects, that we need as men, as well as diving into healthy aspects and forms of masculinity and looking at those very clearly and how we can model those, how we can find those aspects within ourselves. So if you're interested in that, like I said, there's a wait list down below. Just add yourself. Ciao, ciao.